Call meeting to order. Roll call.
Okay, Mayor Westergaard.
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yep.
Reese.
Yes.
Councilor Steinkamp will be absent.
Anybody have anything for public forum? Consent agenda, any additions or corrections? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Boltman.
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
And the building permits have all been
Yes,
approved?
that, the permit for Stoffregan is approved also.
Okay, we need a motion to approve those.
I'll make it.
Second. Roll call.
Tom.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing on the proposed annexation of the lands into the city of Lakeview.
Put your hand up.
Does anybody have any input? Dorothy?
That's okay.
This is what she's gonna read.
Who's the hearing officer? Are you the hearing officer?
I am
You
her.
are?
Thank you.
Do that.
All right, all right.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to read this into the letter, into the record, and then I would also like to propose it be part of the public hearing record for the proposed annexation. We would like to express our concerns during this public hearing on the proposed annexation of the road right-of-way to the city of Lakeview. It appears the purpose of this annexation is to provide contiguous land using flagpole annexation procedures as defined in Iowa state statutes so that a private developer may incorporate his or her development into the city of Lakeview. A substantial portion of road right-of-way proposed to be annexed is adjacent to the front of our property on the east side of M54, a Sac County road. The roadway contains a bridge approximately 22 feet wide over the outlet from Black Hawk Lake. South of the bridge, the right-of-way on the west side, the lake side of the road, is very narrow. North of the bridge, the road right-of-way is not clearly defined. The city of Lakeview is claiming that the proposed annexation includes all of our property that extends to the high water mark on the east shore of Black Hawk Lake. It is our understanding that the high water mark in this area is based on the level of water that the outlet can carry. Sac County was given a permanent easement on May 16, 1962, when the state and county were paving the road around this area of the lake. The easement was specifically given for road purposes and for use as a public highway. All other private ownership rights were retained. We have not been asked, nor have we granted approval of this annexation. We expect the development to affect our agricultural land to the south and to the east of the development. We are also concerned about the impact of the stormwater runoff through road ditch conveyance to the north bank of the stream that flows from the outlet bridge. The proposed development was previously a farmstead with a walnut grove and a few buildings, but most of the land was pervious surface. The lane and driveway were gravel. This will be replaced with several housing units with their roofs, driveways, along with streets, curbs, and gutters. A large amount of impervious surface. We have asked for rain gardens, bioretention cells, and plantings to slow down and allow water to percolate down to groundwater rather than run across the surface. We request that these concerns be addressed along with the proposed annexation. Thank you for allowing
Thank you.
us.
Giving the sign.
I did.
Anybody else have any more input
About that.
about the annexation? Yes.
My name is Bob Terrell, and I'm the one that bought that property. When she was talking about in 1962, the road, how would everybody around town like driving around the lake and I put a toll bridge in? I've had 2 surveyors. I could have tore up part of that road and put every time anybody drove over it, they gotta pay so much money to go across it on there. No, that road has been there as long as I've ever remembered. My grandmother, I have been up in Carnarvon on there. It was a mistake. I'm not gonna tear up that road. That road stays where it is. I had to give the state some more of that ground because of their mistake on there. That's the only thing I want to say on there. It's been a long time coming. There is going to be a rain garden, which is a good idea. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's been planned out. There is locates that was supposed to be done by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. I got a phone call at 4. Windstream, it'll be done by tomorrow night on there. I think it's a great opportunity for the city to do it. It's gonna bring revenue to this town, and it's designed for 26 units on there. It'll be curb and gutter on there. And if there's any questions, anybody can ask me. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody have anything else? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Okay. Resolution 1936. What would the council like to do?
I'll make a motion, we move on resolution 1936.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Bolton,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion is carried. Okay, we're gonna move on to the Moore Building. Nate, did you wanna say anything more?
Nothing's really changed. I think Scott talked to the neighbors about it, and he was in contact with Black Hills about the meter placement and stuff, and it seemed to, everything was in order there, so I think everybody kinda knows the gist of it. Nothing else has changed other than that.
We're doing this to get more parking, or?
More parking and allow access for the steps, and a better place for the, meters for the, natural gas company, cause I gotta remove the propane tanks to make room for the stairwell that goes up.
There's 2 parking spaces there now, right?
Yeah,
When we're done, we'll have how many?
well, I was hoping for 3, but because of the right of way, I'd probably stay with 2 for parking.
So the propane tank is going.
It has to go to make room for the
And
steps,
so they're
yeah.
putting the gas meters where the others are that you thought were not.
They're gonna they wanna put the gas meters on the corner of the building where the electrical transformers are. They can't do that now because they're too close to an ignition switch, or ignition source, which would be the transformers.
Okay. So they're gonna be on the kind of the north wall there, or the
Yep.
south wall?
Well, it's the north wall.
Okay,
Right
because I'm
along
thinking
there.
the north wall would be Brotherton.
Right.
Right.
So if the transformers are moved over to the other side, then it'll make room for the meters, then we can get rid of the propane tanks, then the steps will have a place to go, then they can get into the apartments.
So just if you look at page 15 in the packet, that has that picture, the picture's in there, and it drew in a proposed location, just roughly drew in. So this would have those transformers basically on the north property line then, between Moore's and Brotherton's. Okay, and you kind of see roughly where that is. One thing that does not still address is the pedestal there for Corn Belt. And that would remain as is. It may be able to scooch about 3 feet further to the west, but it would stay there. And then the propane tanks would be removed. So if you're looking at that bottom picture there, you see the Corn Belt pedestal right there in front. Just picture, 3 gas meters along that wall, and that would be about the proposed location for that. So this is an option, and checked with Chris Brotherton, he was okay with this. It is consistent then with the requirements of the gas company then too, about how far away that needs to be. So it is an option. Of course, there's other options there too, about rerouting the steps to a different location, or looking at some different parking options then too, like maybe we had talked about that storm sewer intake there, making that an at-grade intake, which would allow for a couple different parking spaces, or they'd be parallel spots then.
On the street. Off the
I think
street.
still be off-street, but
But only 2 then, or?
yeah, I'm sure there'd only be 2.
That would, I mean, if you're gonna do that in front of the fitness center there, there'd be some manhole work that would have to be done in the big cut.
There's a substantial amount of intake work there, yeah.
Yeah, and curb and gutter and,
So who picks up the tab on this?
Typically, when an individual asks for utility services to be moved, the costs lie with the individual.
But here's my thinking on this. I support doing this for a couple of reasons. One, because the current transformer is not sitting on public right of way, as it should have been. And if we moved it to the north, I think it's gonna look better. And then I'm supporting this only because Nate has made a considerable, over a $200,000 investment in these buildings. So I wouldn't support this for just anybody that just would like to have their transformer moved. But since he's made that kind of a monetary, and it's gonna give us some housing, and it's gonna hopefully bring in some more people, I would support this if Nate would pay half of the cost.
So we're gonna do this for everybody that wants to move a transformer then?
I just said that the reason I'm supporting this is because he's investing over $200,000 in that building.
So then you have to invest $200,000 to get half of it.
That's what I think. I mean, I think it's a case-by-case basis, but that's the reason I'm supporting this. I wouldn't support it if it wasn't being a huge investment made in our downtown.
I know, but I don't agree.
Is this, Bill, our actual work with our guys, using our guys to do this?
I
So,
wanna point out something too, Dave, is that, you can see that top picture where those hash marks are at? Those transformer sleeves are 2 foot in the ground. That's right where that gas line comes into that gas meter. So they're gonna have to move that gas line. And, those transformers were originally staked to be in the right of way. And the property owner did not want them there because they were in their way for parking. So they are the ones who told me to put them transformers where they're at. Otherwise, they would have been in the city's right of way.
the previous owners.
Right, Bill Griffin.
So if they have to move the gas line, is that what you're saying, Bill?
It's, where Scott's got that picture drawn is right where that gas line goes right back to that meter.
So
But they said it was not a
they said it
problem.
was not a
I
problem?
say, this is me talking with Scott Kinzer on the phone
And
about the location
so
of
what
that.
would
Yeah,
the cost of that be?
we did not talk about a conflict, We didn't view that as a conflict. So if that gas service line runs right there, I guess we had not had that discussion. We just had the discussion about the location of the meter being far enough away.
Do we need to clarify this
I
or
think
what?
we need to clarify.
Did he know where the transformers were proposed to be put, Scott?
Yeah.
Well, then he should have known his gas line was right
Yeah.
there.
But maybe we need further clarification before we do anything further.
Nate, if the city did half, you're good to do half?
of the total cost of
Yeah.
what the bill's proposal was, is that what it is, or do you?
Well, unless there's an additional cost from the gas.
Then there's gas and then Wi-Fi, there's gonna be some cost anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
About, I mean, it's $5,000, on that end of it, plus the gas and stuff. I mean, it's kind of essential for the whole project, I don't know.
It is.
I mean, you can't, you gotta be able to get up to the building, and the steps come down, they go within like 14 feet of the corner. It's gonna leave about 3.5 foot landing to try to work around that if the steps stay where they're at. if they go to the other side to the north, I'm gonna have to attach it to the neighboring building, and you're gonna have a gas meter in the way that was, which is what the one in question right now, that was never supposed to be put there in the first place, cause it's on the wrong side of the property line. I mean, there's a lot of things going on back there.
Why would Scott Kinzer not know?
Never talked to him.
I had brought it up to Scott that maybe they needed to move that meter to the right part anyways, and then it's the normal, well, it's been there forever, and,
You talked to Scott Kinzer?
when him and I met back there. But,
I think before we take any action, we should double
I
check
do
with him.
too.
I know we told you we were gonna make a decision tonight.
it's gonna make it really hard, to know where to put the natural gas if, 2 weeks down the road, the ground's froze, and they can't, I mean, if they aren't able to trench anything in, that's my big thing, I mean, we just,
Time-wise.
well, I mean, I gotta get natural gas to that building so I can get the tanks moved, so that way they can build the steps, I mean, so they can, start construction on it, so.
How long will it take you to move those things?
I estimated a week, Dave. But when I give that estimate, that's just an estimate. You're not gonna know until you dig that ground up to see what's underneath of it.
Anybody else?
I still think we should do, that Nate should pay half of it, and if there's a charge from the gas company, then I think Nate should cover that. But I do think we could do half of it for you, because you're making the kind of commitment you are to this committee.
Well, what happens if Bill gets digging in there and it goes from 10 grand to 15? It'd be nice to have a little, and then all of a sudden you're talking $7,500 into something that, I mean, I guess it's gonna be kinda hard to recoup anything on that for 2 parking spots, but,
We're not gonna know till they start digging either.
right, which I understand, I mean, and I get it, it's not ideal for anybody, I mean, I understand that, I'm open for any other ideas, but something's gonna have to get moved in order to make way for the steps, whether it be transformers or gas line or something.
Nate, the only thing I could bring up is where those two transformers sat, is moving them straight east to where they were proposed by the engineer.
Straight east out towards the road.
Put it in the city's right of way, straight east. Cause that's where they were originally planned to be set.
So how far would that be off the corner of the building then?
That's right at I guarantee that building's on the right of way.
That building is
This
there?
property owner's gonna build lot line to lot line.
Right.
So how far straight east would that be?
You're only talking 3 foot. Without me measuring, Dave, by just looking at this picture,
But then where's the gas line then?
that's the gas problem.
Yeah.
I don't know why the gas company thinks they have the right to, we deal with this all the time, where they think they have the right at that first corner of the building. We just had one out at the lake where the customer paid to have it moved. Because they said they wouldn't give him service unless it was right to that corner of the building,
So you're talking about just moving 3 feet east?
to be on the city's right of way, if you wanna move into the city's right of way. But then that still leads on who's gonna pay for it.
Well, it's still gonna be too close to the gas meters, so, I mean, it isn't gonna gain me anything for that.
Where else could those gas meters be located?
The other option is basically front of the building, underneath the windows of the fitness center. That's an option.
The gas meters?
Yep, they were,
Oh, you mean like right around the corner?
yeah, on the front side of the building, yep, or on the east side. The other thing, and I know we've talked about different options with the steps, but yeah, if you have the steps come down where they are about halfway, a little landing and jog over, so that they miss the transformer, That way at least the upper part of your steps can still be attached to your building, and it's only the lower part that's freestanding.
Is that an option?
I suppose.
Seems like it'd be the cheaper option.
Well, yeah, I mean, then that's fine. I mean, then, well, let's see, so I understand, so you'd have it facing north or whatever? I mean, they come down and then go like this to
And
the
then
north.
goes north a little bit, yeah.
And then I have the Corn Belt pedestal right there.
But that could be moved 3 feet.
Well, it could
To
be
the
moved 3
west.
feet to the west, he thought, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be out of the way then, wouldn't it, or no?
I'd have to measure and see where it, I mean, I'm not sure how it would all lay out there.
Then if we could look at doing that, we could still examine that, storm sewer intake about getting that attended to allow for additional parking.
Well, and that'd have to be some, I mean, is that your guys' deal then, on the storm sewer and the parking and stuff, even if I was requesting it, or?
We'd have that discussion with the council, I guess it's their decision.
Right,
I mean, if this is a big time essential thing, I mean, it's a big enough project to me, and I agree with Nikki too. You know, a lot of that cost is in our city manpower and stuff. And as big as the project is, and we also have some financial commitment into the project, I'd be in favor of, you know, splitting that cost if moving those was the only option. But if we look at that second option as far as moving, having a landing there and coming down that way, you know, that's something to take a look at.
right.
And if we had to, for frost being in the ground or whatever concerns you had, if we had to meet in special session when for an hour or something, to consider the project, you know, I'd be in favor of doing that.
Well, just so I could, I mean, that's my biggest concern, because, I mean, if the gas company comes in 2 weeks and says, oh, you know, we're starting to get frost, or we're backed up, you know, we aren't gonna get to you, it's gonna pretty much screw everything up. I mean, that won't meet the guideline for the grant at that point, because it's gotta be a winter project, you know?
Right. But we'd also have time to check with the gas company on that concern we have.
And you'd be able to see how you're gonna bring it down for sure if you zigzag with that landing.
Yeah.
And make sure what it costs.
I think you need some measurements, but I also think that we ought to bring Scott Kinzer in on this conversation, and I'm sure that he would do that. Wouldn't he? Yes.
Like I
But
say,
we
yeah, I've
don't have
talked
to
to
wait
Ed,
for the
I've
next
talked to
council
him.
meeting.
You just
We
didn't
can do
get
a
that answer.
Special council meeting for that.
Yeah, if we need to.
Well, just so we can get the ball rolling on, you know,
Right, we want this.
that's
to
my
move
biggest
forward.
concern, I mean,
Right.
cause I started talking to Scott Kinzer about it in like June, then here we are, so.
Can we get him up here rather quickly?
I can call him tomorrow.
Yep,
You're available, let's give you a little warning.
Yeah, tomorrow?
And see if you can take a look at that and see what other options might work there.
Yeah, I'll do some
We need-
dabbling on it
We
and,
need to know what our options are.
right. And then, well, and as long as we're talking about that, so then like the city, you running the meters up to the building, I mean, that's another thing that's gonna, you know, probably have to happen sooner than later too this fall. So, I mean, that's something else to kinda keep in mind, that there's gonna be a lot of digging going on back up in there, so.
Just let Bill know what you're digging.
I'm not digging anything.
We gotta get the meters up there.
John,
But let's get
we've
that.
looked at everything to try to help Nate out.
Yep.
And we went through the same deal 30 years ago, you know, where to set these transformers. And we put them where the customers wanted them, so I mean, we've tried everything.
Well, if you put him where he wanted, no good deed goes unpunished.
I know it, yeah.
Okay, we'll wait for Scott.
What happens?
Do that? Everybody okay with that?
And then just keep
Yes.
us posted.
Yeah. We have to call everybody on the road.
What time would you think?
Depends whenever Kinzer gets here.
I'd like to be here.
Yep. Scott will let us all know.
Right.
Scott, he's gonna need to locate that line to see exactly where it's at. You know,
So will Mark do that, or Scott?
no, well, Scott will have to have his guy
Scott
do it.
doesn't do that, Mark will do it.
Mark will probably do
Have
it.
one of his guys.
Yeah.
And then we have he should be able to give us a pretty good idea, so we know a little bit better of how much it's gonna cost.
All I know is
too, if
you
it
guys,
is.
when they bore in, they go straight into the building.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can't get that lined up for tomorrow, Nate. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, resolution 1937 is granting a variance for Michael Moore.
Yes, this would allow Mike to put a 6-foot wide storage shed, 6 by 12 storage shed. It's on the east side of his garage, and this would be 2 foot off the property line. We wanted to put an 8-foot wide shed there, and the neighbor expressed concerns about that, but the neighbor was okay with this 2 feet setback. Excuse me. And so he would put the 6-foot shed there, and the Board of Adjustment has granted this variance, and the council can either approve the resolution or remand it back to the board.
I wasn't able to go to that. Why did the variance committee decide that he should be given a variance, do you know? I mean, what their reason was?
Largely because of what the neighbors had to say about it, that they just didn't want to write on the lot line, but they were okay when it was 2 feet away. And there's a pre-existing concrete slab there, Vicki.
I see.
Okay, so there's this 2 feet setback, but it's all part of the slab.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second,
A second.
roll call.
Boltman,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, 1938, we're gonna hire an employee hopefully tonight. Has everybody met Tommy? Gross? He comes with approval from Bill. He's been here all summer.
Comes work every day.
That's a good
Plus.
thing.
Yeah, that's a plus. Big one.
I've seen him work too, so it's dirty.
I'll make a motion that we hire, do you have something you want to?
Just real quick, take a look at page 20. And these are the parameters that we would hire him. And first thing, you know, it says first day of employment is Monday, November 11th. Just know that's a holiday. Okay? Start him on a holiday.
Paid holiday
Because when I put down the 12th, it was really accused of being cheap. So he's, and you can see he's an employee under the streets, water, sewer classification, probationary for 6 months. This would follow union pay scales, starts off at 75% wage rate. Okay, gotta get a Class A CDL within 90 days. I know they started working on that already, so,
He's taking the test tomorrow, Scott, the written.
very good. And then, gotta live within 10 air miles. Tommy does live here in town. Available for off-hours emergency. Number 8 talks about when you gotta sit for those water and sewer tests. Okay, you gotta sit for the exam, sit for and pass the grade 1 exams immediately upon meeting the experience requirement. And then the same thing for the grade 2 exams. He sits and passes those immediately upon meeting the experience requirement, 3-year experience requirement. Okay, another thing that I have since added after putting this in the packet deals with commercial pesticide license about spraying mosquitoes. We lost a mosquito sprayer, so we're looking for a new mosquito sprayer.
I'll make a motion that we hire Thomas Gross in this capacity.
I will second.
Roll call.
Thomas,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Bolton.
Yes.
Welcome
there-
aboard.
Thank you.
There you go.
Keep showing up every day.
Yeah.
I think I can do that.
Okay.
Except your first day.
Yeah. Okay, the CDBG grant rehab. Carla, did you want to say anything?
Just a quick thing here, we've had a couple of contracts. As you know, you have received your official release of funds from the state now, so we are able to move forward with the fund stuff. And one of the first things there is you have both a technical services contract that needs to be signed. What that's gonna include is that Region 12 will continue the site-specific environmental reviews for each particular property. We will take care of the initial construction inspections. We will write up the bid packets, perform all the bid procurement, award the contracts, write up all of the contract documents, follow the project through its construction phase, close out each construction project, and file all necessary paperwork with the state. And so that's what we will be doing for the technical services contract. The second contract that we have before you is the sub-recipient contract. And what that allows for you to do is that each time we have to write a check to a contractor or pay a publication notice or send out a mailing, Region 12 will take care of all of that. And then our fiscal department will send me monthly statements. When it gets to be a point, I will then send them on to the state. So now you only have to write the one check based off our summary of expenses, and we handle every other thing in between there. So I would need approval for those two contracts, and then we could talk about the clients.
I'll make a motion that we approve those two contracts.
I'll second.
Sorry about that, what was the motion?
Motion to approve those
Approve the
two
two
contracts.
contracts.
You want individual, one for each one?
Yep.
You need a motion for the technical services first?
Yep.
So moved.
Tell me second, roll call.
Okay, Tom,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes,
Reese,
Yes,
Bolton.
Yes.
We need a motion on the sub-recipient contract,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Bolton,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes,
Moller,
yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Were there any questions about that? Do you have questions, sir, about one of these contracts or what we'll be doing for them?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I just checking to make sure. Okay, so with that, you are now able to make choice limited decisions, and we have given you a spreadsheet of the first 3 applicants that have applied for the program. You have 4 slots, so these would fill the first 3, and they have passed the Region 12 income requirements and some of the basic environmentals. We've checked the floodplains and some of that, everything we can do without actually walking into the house. And so with your approval, we will set up times to meet with the first 3 homeowners and get their inspection started.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the initial applicant list.
Any question?
Can there be a 4th one added? When, I know that you told me that there could be, I guess when
Oh,
can
there
that happen?
will be, yes. What we'll do is, we have 20 projects to get off the ground in the next 4 weeks. So probably in January, I'm gonna backtrack
Okay.
and then hit those towns. You were missing 1, you got 4,
Right.
but we only had 3 in one of the
Right.
other towns. And so
Okay.
we'll get that first rush through.
Okay,
Many times people will just kind of show up out of the woodwork, hey.
yeah, well, I think one of them is kind of rethinking it, so, okay, I wanted to know about that.
Yeah, just send them our way if they are. Basically, what I would need to do is I would need to technically open up the round to accepting new clients, which we can do, and I'll send something to Scott, and then we could go ahead and, so if you know someone, then that just makes it easy.
Okay, all right, okay, sounds
Then
good.
we want to buzz through those and then apply for more money.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any questions? So if I could get an approval on these clients, we'll
I'll make
set
the
up the,
motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Moller,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yep.
Reese.
yes.
Thank you, Carl.
thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
there go.
Good to see
This
you.
is exciting. Thank you.
Sorry you had to come in the evening. I know you like
It's kind of
the,
dark out. I had to get a driver.
I know you like the afternoons.
Yeah, I,
Okay, we have some library engineering agreements.
Yeah, you see the agreement for the engineering services with West Plains Engineering is in the packet. They would be doing the electrical and mechanical design for the library addition. And you see the total cost on that, $13,500. They would propose they turn a rough draft around really quick. We'll have a rough draft on this ready by the end of the week, so, of the plans. And then we'll make that jive with the structural parts of it and really get to where we can move on it pretty quick. We do need to approve the engineering services.
Motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Moller,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes,
Okay, we're gonna have to approve the annual financial report.
Annual financial report. That's on page 34, and really all I did was include the cover page of what's published in the paper. Just know that the auditors were here this past week, and they have audited the report to, anyway, they concurred with my report that I had here, so everything looks to be in order. It's be published next week, and I would ask for approval.
Do you have that motion?
I'll make it.
Roll call.
Reese,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Okay, we have to have a resolution approving the annual urban renewal report.
Yeah, it's the annual urban renewal report, so if you take a look at page 36. And this just kind of walks through the urban renewal funding. So you see what the starting cash balance was, that 465,120. Then you add the annual revenues, what was received from the year, that $165,000. That was the last plan amendment that we did had an internal borrowing from the electric improvement fund. That's that $165,000. And then we turn around and repay that from TIF back into the electric improvement fund. Excuse me, the non-rebate expenditures are largely, well, almost exclusively, always debt service payments, whether they're to the banks or to ourselves. But this one also includes that large cost for the cleanup of the Raritan property. So about $132,000 of that was cleanup of the Raritan property. So you see our total project fund balance then at year end, $502,000. The remainder of the report is there, and just as you look at page 39, this details what was paid out during this year. And the top two really are repayments of notes to the bank, that internal loan repayment to ourselves, and then the also that economic development loan then to ourselves there at the bottom. Any questions?
Appears to be none. We have a motion for 1939.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Moller,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
City Administrator report.
Just a couple things on our public works employees. We're still looking for some additional applications on that, and I've just expanded the advertising area for seeking applicants. And that position would remain open until filled. Okay, we got a notice about the one bridge we have in town. Technically we have one bridge, and it's the one out there by the sewer plant. Okay, so every 2 years that bridge is inspected. And this was the first year that they had determined the deficiency severe enough that they would put a posting limit on it. So the timbers were rated low, so we will work with the county about getting the proper signage out there. So the engineers tell us the load limits on what that bridge would be, and we'll work with the county about getting the proper signage out there in the proper spot. The other thing that was a little concerning is that they start talking about, the engineers started talking about replacement of that bridge then, looking 5 to 10 years into the future about replacement of that bridge. And at some point here in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll start talking about that and getting our names on the grant list, because I think our name was on the grant list for more than 10 years when they did that one out there on the gravel road. The county did that here several years ago.
North of TCT.
North of TCT, yeah. But that was actually through the city grant program, and we were on that list for a long time before our name came up.
So that bridge, we shared it with the county, right?
Yep.
But this bridge, we don't, it's all ours.
This is a city bridge, yes.
So how big a grant will we be able to get, do we know?
We don't know. I know very little about this. I need,
Put
Don't
some
know what it take to fix it, yeah.
culvert or something.
well, you know, that's certainly an option, is
Faster.
putting a culvert in there, you
A
know.
raft.
I know a guy can haul them out there.
Well, yeah. Hopefully it'll go quicker. I hate to see that bridge be embargoed for too long. I mean, we use it every day,
You know,
you know.
A lot of bad bridges in Sacramento.
they gave me the numbers, but what the engineer said is that this would be the first type of weight load limits above being normal. Yeah. So it's still high limits on the bridge, but it does do it closely. You'll see Sac County League meeting, Wall Lake hosts that. That's on the 14th, and need to know by about the, next Monday for sure about who would go. We need to RSVP, they'll cater the thing. That is the annual update meeting of hometown pride committees in the county. And if everything goes well this week, I plan to take the day off on Friday, and then we do have holiday on Monday.
Anybody else? Motion to adjourn? Second?
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned.